I'm Brandon Amoroso, and this is the D2Z podcast, building and growing your business from a Gen Z perspective. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into D2Z, a podcast about using the Gen Z mindset to grow your business. I'm Gen Z entrepreneur Brandon Amoroso, founder and president of Retention as a Service agency, Electriq. And today I'm talking with Alissa, VP of Electriq, who actually joined us just about approaching her 1 year anniversary now. And this also happens to be the 1 year anniversary of the D2Z podcast. So this is the 52nd episode. Just super exciting, and could be more fitting to have you on the show with us. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. Very, very excited. Nervous, but excited. So.
Well, the first episode we ever did, I thought it was live, like legitimately live. And I didn't realize until after the fact that it was pre-recorded and then published. So I was freaking out. But it's recorded. So if we mess up or do anything, we can cut it out.
We have a second. Mark, please cut out anytime I look like a clown. That would be very, very helpful.
Well, before we dive into things, can you give everybody just a quick sort of background and an intro on yourself?
Sure. So my name's Alissa. As Brandon mentioned, I'm the VP at Electriq. Very excited to be on board at Electriq, but also on the podcast today. As far as just kind of my background, so I've been at Electriq for almost a year now. I started off as the department head for the email SMS team, and then worked my way up to basically being the department head for all the department heads. So definitely a change in terms of like scope of work that I do for Electriq, but has been a very wild and exciting ride for the last year. Prior to that, I was working at another agency that specialized on email and SMS marketing. And I've been in the agency space for about 3, 4, like 5 years now. I always lose track of time, but yeah, it's definitely not for the faint of heart, but agency life is really fun. And the thing that I think I love the most about it is like the periods of flexibility that you have in terms of like how you're kind of dictating what your day looks like and how you're doing things for clients, but then also those periods where it's like, oh my gosh, and everyone's running around like a headless chicken. So definitely keeps you on your toes and keeps things exciting. And I love that my day-to-day is not the same. Like what I did yesterday or what I did last week, I will never repeat that day ever again. So that's definitely nice. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
every day is new for sure.
Yeah.
And you joined us at a very interesting time as well, because I want to say you started, was it like 5 days before we got acquired or something?
Yeah.
Which was honestly my biggest concern, and I was freaking out about it because I knew it was going to be positive, but I just wasn't sure how you would respond to that sudden change. And so I'm obviously glad that we made it to this point. But that was an interesting time period for sure.
Yeah, and there's like when people ask like, oh, about the acquisition and stuff, and like, when did you start? How did you feel about the acquisition? And I was like, yeah, so I started on Monday, and then we all collectively found out about the acquisition on Friday. So I didn't really have like a huge like preconceived notion of like how Electriq was beforehand, because I had approximately 4 days of experience. So I think it was definitely a shock, but I'm definitely a roll with the punches kind of person anyway. So it kind of worked out as far as timing, because again, I didn't really have this like preconceived notion of like, oh, this is what Electriq is and this is how we are and all these things are going to change now. Definitely a lot has changed since the acquisition. I think mostly for the better. Obviously not everything is like perfect and silver lined, but a lot of changes have taken place. It just, the timing I think worked out really, really well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the timing is everything in some instances, and nothing is ever perfect. But I think that sort of mindset and philosophy that we have throughout the organization of continual improvement is what allows us to continue to be best, or at least one of the best at what we do. And just because we do everything a certain way right now doesn't mean that's the way that we should continue to do it. And I think that's important.
Yeah. And I that's definitely one of my favorite things about the team is like, there are definitely time periods, and there have been in the last year, where we're like, we just need to keep the lights on. Like, that's it. Like, we're in survival mode. and like the rest of the team is very willing to roll with the punches, and everyone knows like every day we're optimizing towards like a better version of ourselves, if you will, as cliche as that sounds. Like we're always looking to be the best agency in the world. So like what is the little like 1% change that we're making today and then tomorrow and then onwards and onwards and onwards, so that we can eventually get to that title, I guess. But yeah, the team is definitely the backbone of everything. And I always say to everybody, like, oh my God, if you guys weren't here and like everyone wasn't like of the mindset that they are, I would have crashed and burned a while ago. So very, very grateful for the team that we have, because everyone wants to see improvements. I think sometimes even more than I do or you do, you know, which is really, really cool.
Right.
It's great to see people who like wear the t-shirt and love Electriq as much as they do to like push forward and do everything that we need to do.
Right. Well, it's not like, even though we're not like a ginormous agency, there's only about 50 of us. It's still a size where you can't be in the day-to-day of each team member's responsibilities, what they're doing with clients, what's working and what's not. So it's really important that the team is strong so that they can surface those recommendations for improvement. Otherwise, the agency would stagnate and you wouldn't ever be able to get above a certain like size, because there's just, and I think that's why like getting the feedback and making it so abundantly clear that it's actually expected, the feedback, like we're not hiring you to just go do and execute against a playbook. Like we want you to iterate and refine that playbook, because we wouldn't be able to continue to iterate like we can now, because we're not in necessarily the minutia of certain tasks and things. And so it's all of us coming together that really allows us to continually improve and make things better.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like the being in the weeds, that's definitely something that I struggle with, because for some reason I love being in the weeds, but it's not realistic to my role. So there's a lot that I'm kind of like in my role that I'm like, oh, imagine if we did this. I think this is such a great idea. And actually Rafaela, she's our new email SMS department head. She's like phenomenal and so process oriented and very operationally minded. And one of the things that she always reminds me is like, Alissa, we can't put the horse before the carriage. Like just because you think it's a good idea doesn't mean it's going to work in practice. So like we need to find like one person who's going to be a guinea pig. Let's test it out, see if it works well, iron out the kinks, and then we can roll it out. Because I definitely tend to get overexcited about a new process or something like fresh that we can do with clients. So that's really, really helpful to have like a really good connection with a lot of the team members who are a little more in the weeds and like dealing with things day in and day out than I am. So then that way they can kind of like test, surface issues, surface like major opportunities or like huge improvements that we've seen through that new process. And then we can kind of go from there. And the thing that makes it trickier is a lot of it is with clients. So a lot of the time we're kind of like piloting things with clients and we're like, okay, like smile and wave, let's see like how this goes and make sure that like a client's happy with how this is going, and getting client feedback as well is super important too. So there are just so many like little pieces and little tiny details that make up the greater picture of what we're doing at Electriq. So it's a lot to remember, but again, thankfully we have an awesome team who's just equally as excited and enthusiastic about improving everything that we're doing. So yeah.
I think the willingness of the team to take on like new features, functionalities, and initiatives as well, because like I can write about these things in the newsletter and talk about how we should be thinking about applying them, or different frameworks or mindsets that we can take to our clients. But it's another to have a team that's willing to disrupt their norm, and maybe it'll take a little bit longer, or maybe it won't be as like as smooth of a process for them to start, but they know like they get excited by learning, and they get excited by producing results for their clients, and for just improving themselves. So they'll take that and they run with it, because I can't take it and run with it across our 45 clients. You can't take it and do it for every client. So that mindset and that team member base is super important. But I think it's interesting, like figuring out when is the right time to let go of the reins and when isn't, because until you came on board, I mean, I was trying to I'm going to say get rid of, but that's not probably the right term, but I was trying to get rid of the email and SMS team responsibility from my plate for probably like a year. And we started and stopped with like two different people, where maybe it was just a strong team member, but not necessarily the right fit when it came to like managerial style, which is something that I learned over time, which is not everybody wants to become a manager, or not
Yeah.
everybody wants to become like an executive. And so meeting team members where they're at and setting them up for success is really important. But I knew for us to grow and get to the next level, I couldn't be in the weeds with the email and SMS team. I wasn't giving them the level of responsiveness or time and attention needed either. Like it wasn't fair to them because I was doing 1,000 other things when it came
Mm-hmm.
to sales or just general processes, all the fun stuff in the back end and behind the scenes. So it was really important to be able to offload and delegate, but you still have to find the right person to be able to offload and delegate to. So I guess what was the process like for you from going and running the email and SMS team to now overseeing all the teams? And what does that evolution look like? Some of the pain points, some of the positives.
Yeah, so it's funny because I'm kind of going through this like let go of the reins thing with the CSM team at the moment. But as far as the email SMS team, and this is also something that Raphael and I have spoken a lot about, because sometimes I kind of overstep, which is not cool. I don't stay in my lane and I'm like, no, it's fine. Like I'll just handle it, like because I know it off the top of my head, versus like stopping and taking the time to like actually work through it with her so that she understands how I thought through it. And then me also having to pause and remember, like, Rafaela probably has way better insights than I do on this particular way that things have been done within the email SMS team. So I can share and give advice when she asks, but like, I need to just step back and let her run the team, because a lot of the way that I ran the team before when it was me, I did all of that pretty much based on her feedback and feedback from the rest of the team as well. So I think it's like this point of like humility that you have to have as a leader, especially with a team, where you have to kind of stop and realize like, I don't have all the answers and that's okay. And like really lean on the people who, you know, may not also have all the answers, but they will have some of the answers that you need in order to get the big picture answer and then lead the team. And like, as my, I guess, time as the email SMS department head came to an end, it was funny because I kept joking, but I wasn't really joking, where I was like, I've gotten to the point now where I feel like I've worked myself out of a job. Like the team was like operating so fluidly and at such a high level on their own that I was just kind of like poking my head in, like, is everybody okay? Like, does anyone need anything from me? And people were like, Alissa, get out of here. Like, we've got it, which I love. Like, I love that. And that's not to my credit at all. It's to the credit of the team. They're unbelievable professionals. And I think all they needed was like kind of a cheerleader. And I joked about this, like at the start of the podcast, where it's like, Mark, delete anything that makes me look like a clown. And I'm not calling myself a clown, but I'm definitely like very optimistic, very positive, very enthusiastic, very expressive person. So I think the team just needed someone like that, who they knew like was on their side. Not that you weren't, Brandon, obviously, but just someone who's like very actively vocal about like, yeah, you guys got this. And again, not in a cliche way, but like really motivating the team and kind of validating any feedback that they gave, whether it was really good feedback that would actually help or feedback that maybe we could come back to at a later date. And with that kind of little burst of energy that I was able to kind of like put into the email SMS team, I mean, they totally flourished. And I would say they're definitely a powerhouse. And that's where we're seeing like a lot of our client success stories come out of as well, is from the email SMS team, because they're extremely experienced as far as like email SMS strategy goes. They have got these processes down pat. And if now they've almost trained themselves where if they see something that's kind of a little bit off, they're like, wait, stop, everyone pause, fix this part of the process. Okay, it's fixed. Let's move on to the next thing. So not only are they great at their craft when it comes to email SMS marketing, but they're also very strategically inclined when it comes to how we deal with things operationally within the context of that department. So that's been so cool to see. Definitely one of my favorite parts of being here at Electriq, just watching that flourish and grow. yeah, and so again, step back, like let the team do what they need to. And again, I was able to kind of work myself out of a job. And now Rafaela stepped in and she's taken on a lot of like okay, we have the base, the foundation, like how are we going to take our team to the next level? And that's what she's in the process of doing, which again, it's very cool to watch. And I'm honored to just be part of that process. Sometimes she like bounces things off me, ideas or whatever it is. And I'm like, hey, sounds good. It sounds like you don't need my help at all. So yeah, it's very cool to see. It's very cool to watch teams evolve, and like team members especially like flourish and kind of become more of, professionally speaking, who they were meant to be within the context of Electriq. So yeah.
I think it's really cool to see that. And it even goes beyond, like, I've been super excited when team members have even gone on to like new roles in different companies per se, because that's the best path forward for them.
Yeah.
I think having that level of transparency and sort of no nonsense with the team is really important, and also allows them to feel open about with anything, which is really important.
Well, and it goes back to, there's a book on my desk. It's called Good to Great. I don't know if you can see it properly because of that. So I read this book a couple of years ago, and one of the very first parts of the book talks about getting the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus. Not to say that you're like shoving people off the bus, but when I started, I told the team, because I could kind of feel that there were some people, and I still say this today, I think this is one of my, like, I guess, leadership or like managerial, like cornerstones, where it's like, if you're not enthusiastic and you don't love what you're doing, I don't want to waste your time. And I really don't want you to waste our time. Like, let's find something that is way better suited to you where you will flourish, which will give us room to actually take someone on board. And like, even if it means like, hey, Alissa, like I'm looking for a job. I don't have something right now, but I'm looking. I would way rather have that level of transparency, because one, it gives us a little more time to find a replacement, but also two, it gives me the opportunity to be able to help. So we have a team member who's actually in the process of offboarding with us, but he notified us like a few weeks before he actually got an offer, because he wasn't happy. And we talked about what we could do to make him happy. He wanted to move on to a different career path, which is totally fine, but it gives our team time to figure out how we're going to be shifting client work. And then also I was able to be part of his reference process, which the interviewer was like, this is so weird. Like, this never happens. And it's like, yeah, I think he's wonderful. If we could keep him on board, I would love to, but this isn't what he wants to do. And that's okay. Like, I think we get kind of cagey when it comes to like sharing resources and stuff. And it's just, it makes for like weird interactions within the professional world. Like, you see weird things on LinkedIn, and like people have to hide things and stuff. And it's like, I know it can't all be like dandelions and kumbaya all the time, but like, if we're able to have that level of transparency with employees where they give us a heads up and we're able to figure out our resources so that we can help that person offboard in a healthy way, like, it's such a win-win. And the other thing is, I think when people have to like quiet quit or like hide the fact that they're leaving, that's when their performance goes down. Whereas this team member that's in the process of offboarding, he's like still like completely optimizing how he's performing for our team. Like, he's going above and beyond for our clients. Nothing has changed. You would never guess that he's leaving. And it's because there's that environment of transparency. Let us help you, help us out, so we understand where you're at and we can move forward from there. So we're in the process of hiring for the email SMS team, which is really cool, because now we have some room for extra new, exciting talent, which is never a bad thing. So yeah, it's all about communication and transparency, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, churn is inevitable, especially in the agency business. And so not hiding it and sort of embracing it and making sure that you're set up to still have it be like, I'd say take it as a benefit as opposed to as a disadvantage, because you are bringing in that like fresh and new talent. And so they're able to bring fresh perspectives, new ideas. I think it's not necessarily a bad thing per se. And so it's learning to mitigate and manage it, because it's just a fact of any business, but especially in the agency world, which I think there's just more churn in general, because you have a lot of experience and talent within an agency, given the diverse sort of set of clients that they get to work with, diverse set of circumstances that they're encountering and problem solving for. So there's a lot of demand for those types of people as well. Like
Yeah.
when we went through the acquisition, I mean, like so many team members were like getting or being attempted to be poached left and right by other companies looking at like, oh, like clearly Electriq and its team members must be doing something right because they just got
Mm-hmm.
acquired. So, I mean, a couple team members just got ludicrous offers from companies that weren't even necessarily in e-commerce. And I was like, good for you. Like,
Yeah.
I can't match that, but that's kind of awesome that this.
Yeah. 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 Like go get them kind of thing. And we go through the same thing in like the hiring process too. You know, you have candidates who you're like, oh, I'm so excited about this person. And then they get another offer that's like crazy that we can't match. And it's like, hey, that's awesome. Like go for it. Like all the best to you. And if an opportunity comes up and you're willing to come and work with us, like we'd love to chat again. So
Yeah.
yeah, we don't take ourselves too seriously around here. You know, it's all fair play.
I mean, I think the Bella as the cursor on the website probably sets
Yeah.
the level of seriousness with which we take things.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool to be able to have fun and still be tight with our processes and procedures and like professional in a work product sense, but not like super, it's not probably not the right word, but not like stuck up in like portraying this false reality. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like here I am in my suit and I wake up every day and I work from 9 to 5 and I'm a robot and these are the
Yeah.
things I do. It's like my favorite calls are when everybody's like dogs are on the camera and like, I don't know, somebody's got a baby screaming in the background on the client side. And then we're all just like laughing about the fact that we're working out of this like new world.
Yeah.
But we're still able to get our shit done and probably better than people who don't operate and work in that way are. So
And I think we had once a client who was smoking a cigar on a call. So it's like, it's life, right? And I think that's one thing that our clients appreciate about us and our team members too. Like we are real human beings who work in a marketing world and everything is very real world. And the cool thing is that our clients also have the reassurance that we're also consumers. So like our life experiences contribute to the marketing strategies that we put forth. Because again, we're all real people and we're just trying to help our real people clients sell their real products to real people customers. So yeah, and I'm definitely appreciative of the crying baby in the background because I have a 2-year-old and like the mom life with the work life is like it's like back and forth balance all the time. It's crazy. And sometimes Henry, my son, he does feature and you'll like see his little head pop up. There was a call that we had actually internal. It was an internal call, not a client call. And we usually have like an Electriq background. And Henry was just wearing his diaper and he was like running in the background and like out of nowhere, like he popped out from the background and everyone was like, oh my God, naked baby. And I was like, sorry. But it's just, it's life, right? And
yeah.
I'm not saying that everyone should have a naked baby in their background when they're meeting with clients, but it's real life. And yeah, definitely working at a place where work-life balance is definitely a priority. We all have real lives. We all have our own things going on and we're all just people that work from our homes. Like it's very refreshing. And I think it's refreshing for our clients as well. So
I think that goes into focusing on your strengths and using that as a sort of a unique value proposition versus shying away from them.
mm-hmm.
You're not going to work with us because we have 30 years of experience and because we're super corporate and whatnot. I mean, most of us aren't even 30 years old. And so we just lean right into that as a value add. Like you would work with us because you want fresh and innovative ideas. You want to work
Right.
with on new perspective. You're not going to work with us if you're looking for that standard like corporate been there done that type of deal. And I think it depends on the business and also what they're looking for, and that's why there's a lot of agencies out there because every agency isn't right for every client. And I think
Right.
that became really important for me to figure out at a certain point, like saying no, figuring out what it is that we were best at, going all in on that, because it's allowed us to be way more effective. And now, I mean, all the time we get inbound from people because they say, oh, I asked somebody in the ecosystem who should I go to for help with retention marketing? And they're like, oh, Electriq. And so the only reason that's happened is because a year and a half ago, we just pulled the plug on everything except for the retention marketing. And that's all we do now. And our talk track is very clear. You go to the website, is very clear. Our one pages are very clear. The sales process now is super straightforward. Like you're on Shopify Plus and you need help with customer experience and retention marketing. Perfect. If not, then no. But let me try and like point you in the right direction for who might be able to help you. But that just makes the sales process so much easier too. I mean, cutting through all the bullshit and just getting right to the point. If you need help with this, we can help you. Here's what it looks like to go through our audit process and sort of rinse and repeat. It's just made everything so much simpler. And having to manage like a bunch of disparate teams as well makes for additional complications. You can't be best at everything. And that's why we've been able to be successful. And I think we get a lot of our clients actually from some of the very large agencies, because it's just impossible to manage quality control in a 500 person organization the way that you can in a 50-person team that only does like 2 specific things. So.
Right. Yeah. And I can't even imagine how these like huge scale agencies function, because it's a lot. It's a lot, even with just our 50 people get up here.
Yeah.
And again, like part of it's very hard for me to stay out of the weeds. Like I do like to have at least one touch point with a lot of our clients, just so that way they know like it's not just your personal team. Like you have other people that are sort of vouching for you as a client here that like care about your experience and everything. So yeah, I'll have to get over that hump once we actually like start to get really, really big, but one day at a time.
Yeah, I don't see us ever growing above a certain size, because I think we will continue to just work our way more up market. I mean, 2 years ago, I'd say our Shopify Plus penetration was probably half of what it is now in terms of our clients. And so it's really not only are we growing with the clients that we already had, but we're also working with just larger brands in general. I mean, some of the logos that we get to talk to now are just totally different than what it was 3 years ago. And I think part of that is because when I started Electriq, I had no experience, no case studies, no referrals. I wasn't coming from an existing agency. There was pretty much nothing. So like to work with me, you were just like, sure, we'll take a flyer on this kid who thinks that he can watch some YouTube videos and help us out with Shopify. So it took like the first 2 years were slower growth for us and slower moving, because we were basically banging at the door, trying to get somebody to like let us in to the ecosystem. But now that we're here, it's entirely different. So we can approach things in an entirely different way. And now we have minimums. If you can't pay this, we cannot work with you because it doesn't make sense for us. 2 years ago, even 2 years ago, definitely 3 years ago, pay us anything and be like, sure, let's do it.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it for the portfolio.
HubSpot B2B sales and workflows. Sure. I'll try that out.
If I ever turn around to the team and said we had a client coming on like that, everyone would be like, you're doing it, Alissa. See you later.
Yep. We've got some team members still here, like Nikki, who experience our days.
Who's such a rock star. I was going to call her out earlier because she's definitely one of those team members who like, I have never met anyone who rolls more with the punches, and she's like unbelievable. Definitely blowing smoke, but she's amazing.
We should I mean, she's been here for pretty much the full
since the beginning
of Electriq, all the way from the San Diego office to now. I should have her come on. That would be
you should, so she can talk about what that was like. I can only imagine it like Electriq early days, where it's like everyone's fresh out of college, like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I need to go track somebody down who was with me the summer after I graduated, because it was just me and Amy, who was our first employee. And then I got like 7 or 8 interns from USC. And we all crammed into a little co-working space in Chinatown. And I was just throwing shit at a wall, basically. And I mean, I was pretty upfront about the fact that like I didn't know what I was doing necessarily. We were just going to try all these things, but there's no structure, no process. It was like, let's come up with some projects. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like we didn't have like a ton of clients at that point yet. So a lot of it was actually what I'm doing now, like creating content, like doing a lot of deep dive research. And now the whole evolution, like then I went like so in the weeds that I couldn't do any of that stuff. It was just
Right.
like focusing on executing for clients, building. I mean, I was building emails in Klaviyo like a year ago.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think about that. And now to come back to this point, it's really, really full circle, I guess.
Yeah. I had to go on to Klaviyo for a client call like last week, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I don't remember how to use this, because it's been a minute since I've had to build anything out in Klaviyo. And I feel like Klaviyo rolls out a new product update like every day now. And I'm like, guys, the
Yeah.
platform is not recognizable anymore, in a good way, but like, yeah.
Even though I'm not in the day to day of like building the emails and text, I actually feel more adept at using the product now than I ever have before, because anytime they release anything, I see it immediately. And then I
Right.
write about it in the newsletter or like share it with the team. And
Right.
so because I have so much experience in it, I don't necessarily need to log in to test that feature. Like I can just log in at any moment and it's intuitive enough where I'd be like, oh, okay, this is now where I will do this or roll out this new A/B testing feature in flows.
Yeah.
But because of not being in the day to day, I'm actually more adept with the platform than I was, because historically, if you're not paying attention to that stuff, it'll just sort of come out of nowhere. And you never want to
Right.
be in a place where like clients are telling you, hey, have you seen this? Or have you heard
Right.
this?
Right.
That's what we're supposed to be doing. So I
Yeah.
think the sort of the 1-2 punch that we've been able to create here is really valuable. Um, and definitely sets us apart from a lot of other agencies who don't necessarily have that. And it helps a ton in terms of the sales process as well. Even if none of this content gets seen by anyone else, from an inbound perspective, to be able to leverage it when I get a referral from Shopify Plus or I get a referral from another tech partner, and then the client says, oh, happy to meet you. Can't wait for our call. I'm like, here, by the way, go look at our 20-page analysis we just did of the
Right.
Shopify Editions report that was released 3 days ago. It's like, oh, wow. Like clearly these guys are on the cusp of what's new and are experts within this industry, even if they didn't find us via that piece of content. So
Right.
serves so many purposes.
Yeah. And the thing that I think we're working on now, just making sure that we've got like really ironed out, is the trickle down. So basically, like you have that fresh information that you're kind of sharing outwardly, and then making sure that that's trickling down in a way that's like digestible for the team, and then they can actually action it like right away with current clients and then also new inbound clients. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a really important thing for us to continue to stay abreast of. And
Totally.
I like creating the content because people will find you in ways that you
Yeah.
would never have expected. Like I can't tell you how many people I've run into in the past 3 months who are like, I used your YouTube videos and like our sales process for our app, or like you're everywhere on LinkedIn or whatever it may be. And it's just funny, but also helpful to see that it does have an impact. Especially going into the alcohol industry now, where there's a huge gap in education when it comes to e-commerce enablement and just the digitization of that entire industry. There's so much more to be done there. And the initial feedback from even some of the early content we've created is like, wow, like this is crazy. And
Yeah.
it just shows there's so much more opportunity there. So like we're going to be launching a podcast shortly for the alcohol industry. We're going to be doing a lot more tutorial videos there as well, a lot more enablement series, webinars, things like that, because there's this gap, I think, between the alcohol industry and e-commerce. Sort of sitting in the middle right now, where we're really the only ones, and I'm confident in saying this, the only organization that has deep expertise and knowledge in both. Like there's no one who's more adept at the alcohol industry and also e-commerce than we are. There's a lot of alcohol experts and there's a lot of e-commerce experts, but there's a gap in between. And so how do we sort of be the bridge between those two silos, I think is a really exciting position to be in.
Don't share all our secrets, like other people will try to copycat us.
I think that's one thing that I've never really prescribed to. You're really not that good at it if it can be shared and replicated, I think.
Right.
And then
And it's
also there's so much like, I don't look at it as a competitive landscape either, because the market is so large, especially let's use Shopify Plus agencies as an example. I'm really close friends with a lot of other founders and owners of their own Shopify Plus agencies.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look at us as competition. I mean, sure, we actually might have mutual clients, or we might be selling against each other sometimes, but we're able to support each other more. Like, I spoke at Absolute Web's conference in February. They are very supportive to what we're trying to do. We're very supportive of what they're trying to do. We're able to learn from one another and actually lift each other up, versus if we didn't talk to each other at all and viewed each other as competition, which some agencies definitely do. I mean, it's a different approach, but I'm a strong believer in just being open, and what goes around comes around, I guess. So.
Yeah. And the CEO of my last agency had a very similar view. I guess that's what I'm into when it comes to places to work, but it's true. Like, you put the information out there. If someone can do it better, let them do it better. But if not, we're going to keep doing what we know how to do best. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was, I think, a great inaugural. Is that the term? No, that's the first. It was a great 1-year anniversary
Yeah.
episode.
Whatever the word is.
Whatever the word is, episode number 52. This will live on in infamy. Any last sort of things that you want to speak on, tips or tricks for anybody listening to this? Sort of the floor is yours.
I think no. Wow, it's so insightful. I think just one of the
think
things
the whole team is going to laugh when they hear you say no to having the opportunity to say something.
I know. I remember like those calls, like the department head calls when you were on them before I became VP. I would always be like, so this is what we're going to talk about today. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, this girl won't shut up. She always has like a whole list of things to talk about. But no, honestly, like I think the one thing that's just helpful, like as a leader and a manager, is just always having your team's best interest at heart, because they will feel that. And if it's a genuine thing, they will really, really feel that. And they will always give you way more output than what you could even like begin to give. And it's just, but you have to do it in a genuine way, right? Like, it's not in a way that's like manipulative or like, let me see what I can get out of the team. Like, not like that. Genuinely care about your team members, make sure that you're really vouching for them and like vouching for their growth on behalf of the company's growth. And I think you see a lot of success out of that. And even if it's not like the kind of success that you're imagining, like right at the forefront, it will definitely multiply in volumes over time. And that's what I think definitely what we've started to see. Like, there is so much more buy-in from the team these days. And maybe everyone doesn't always understand the decisions that we make or the things that we have to do on a day-to-day basis. If they don't get it, they will sort of accommodate for that and say like, listen, I don't get it, but I trust you. I trust the vision and I trust what we're moving towards. And I know that it's in the benefit of the company and then also the team at large. So those are my parting words of wisdom.
Well, can you let everybody know who's listening, where they could connect with you online?
I'm so boring. I just have a LinkedIn. That's it. I'm like boring, crazy mom who loves to work, loves to be talking to clients and stuff. But I'll occasionally post on LinkedIn from time to time. Usually when we're hiring, I'm like, hey guys, exciting new job. So yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best place. And if I ever get excited on like Twitter or TikTok or something, I'll be sure to let everybody know.
I'd sign up for that TikTok. That would be
Brandon Na, who's our SEO department head, he always says like, you either need a podcast or like a YouTube video or something, just because I'm like the animation on my face. So yeah, maybe I've always thought about doing a mom podcast, so we'll see.
that would be awesome. I don't think I'll be able to be a guest on that show, but
No. But you'll get a laugh and a kick out of all the crazy stories. So especially juggling, like overseeing like a bunch of departments at a company and then also overseeing a crazy 2-year-old. So
you're a mom of like 50. So
yeah, exactly. I always say that. I'm like, I feel like I'm like the mama bear sometimes at Electriq, where it's like, okay, guys, this is what we're doing today. Did everyone pack their lunch? Everyone's good. Okay, let's do it. But no, we have an amazing team. We have an amazing team.
Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you
Thanks,
everybody for
Brandon.
listening. As always, I'm Brandon Amoroso. You can find me at brandonamoroso.com or electriqmarketing.com. And we'll see you next time.